Chapter 38. It was already dark when Lukashka went out into the street. The autumn night was fresh and calm. The full golden moon floated up behind the tall, dark poplars that grew on one side of the square. From the chimneys of the outhouses, smoke rose and spread above the village, mingling with the mist. Here and there, light shone through the windows, and the air was laden with the smell of kisyak, grape pulp, and mist. The sound of voices, laughter, songs, and the crackling of seeds mingled just as they had done in the daytime, but now were more distinct. Clusters of white kerchiefs and caps gleamed through the darkness near the houses and by the fences. In the square before the shop door, which was lit up and open, the black and white figures of Cossack men and maids shone through the darkness, and one heard from afar their loud songs of laughter and talk. The girls, hand in hand, went round and round in a circle, stepping lightly in the dusty square. A skinny girl, the plainest of them all, set the tune. The old woman stood round listening to the songs. The little boys and girls ran about chasing one another in the dark. The men stood by, catching at the girls, as the latter moved round and sometimes breaking the ring and entering it. On the dark side of the doorway stood Beletsky and Olnin, in their Circassian coats and sheepskin caps, and talked together in a style of speech unlike that of the Cossacks, in low but distinct tones, conscious that they were attracting attention. Next to one another in the Kordov circle moved plump little Utstenska in her red beshmet, and the stately Myanka in her new smock and beshmet. Olnin and Beletsky were discussing how to snatch Utstenska and Myanka out of the ring. Beletsky thought that Olnin wished only to amuse himself, but Olnin was expecting his fate to be decided. He wanted, at any cost, to see Myanka alone that very day, and to tell her everything, and to ask her whether she could and would be his wife. Although that question had long been answered in the negative in his own mind, he hoped he would be able to tell her all he felt, and that she would understand him. "Why did you not tell me sooner?" said Beletsky. "I would have got Utstenska to arrange it for you. You are such a queer fellow." "What's to be done? Some day, very soon, I'll tell you all about it. Only now, for heaven's sake, arrange so that she should come to Utstenska's." "All right, that's easily done. Well, Myanka, will you belong to the fair-faced lad, and not to Lukashka?" said Beletsky, speaking to Myanka first for propriety's sake. But having received no reply, he went up to Utstenska and begged her to bring Myanka home with her. He had hardly time to finish what he was saying before the leader began another song, and the girls started pulling each other round the ring by the hand. Lukashka and Nazarka broke into the ring and started walking about among the girls. Lukashka joined in the singing, taking seconds to clear his voice as he walked in the middle of the ring, swinging his arms. "Well, come in, one of you," he said. The other girls pushed Myanka, but she would not enter the ring. The sound of shrill laughter, slaps, kisses, and whispers mingled with the singing. As he went past Olnin, Lukashka gave a friendly nod. "Dmitri Andreich, have you too come to have a look?" he said. "Yes," answered Olin dryly. Beletsky stooped and whispered something into Ustenska's ear. She had not time to reply till she came round again, when she said, "All right, we'll come." "And Myonka too?" Olin stooped toward Myonka. "You'll come? Please do. If only for a minute. I must speak to you. If the other girls come, I will." "Will you answer my question?" said he, bending towards her. "You are in good spirits today." She had already moved past him. He went after her. "Will you answer?" "Answer what?" "The question I asked you the other day," said Olin, stooping to her ear. "Will you marry me?" Myonka thought for a moment. "I'll tell you," she said. "I'll tell you tonight." And through the darkness, her eyes gleamed brightly and kindly at the young man. He still followed her. He enjoyed stooping close to her. But Lukashka, without ceasing to sing, suddenly seized her firmly by the hand and pulled her from her place in the ring of girls into the middle. Olin had only time to say, "Come to Ustenska's," and stepped back to his companion. The song came to an end. Lukashka wiped his lips. Myonka did the same, and they kissed. "No, no, kisses 5, said Lukashka. Chatter, laughter, and running about succeeded to the rhythmic movements and sound. Lukashka, who seemed to have drunk a great deal, began to distribute sweetmeats to the girls. "I offer them to everyone," he said with proud, comically pathetic self-admiration. "But anyone who goes after soldiers goes out of the ring," he suddenly added, with an angry glance at Olin. The girls grabbed his sweetmeats from him, and laughing, struggled for them among themselves. Beletsky and Olin stepped aside. Lukashka, as if ashamed of his generosity, took off his cap, and wiping his forehead with his sleeves, came up to Myonka and Ustenska. "Answer me, my dear. Dost thou hold me in contempt?" he said in the words of the song they had just been singing, and turning to Myonka, he angrily repeated the words, "Dost thou hold me in contempt? When we shall married, be thou wilt weep because of me," he added, embracing Ustenska and Myonka both together. Ustenska tore herself away, and swinging her arms, gave him such a blow on the back that she hurt her hand. "Well, are you going to have another turn?" he asked. "The other girls may if they like," answered Ustenska, "but I am going home, and Myonka was coming to our house too." With his arm still round her, Lukashka led Myonka away, from the crowd to the darker corner of a house. "Don't go, Myonka," he said. "Let's have some fun for the last time. Go home, and I will come to you." "What am I to do at home? Holidays are meant for merrymaking." "I am going to Ustenska's," replied Myonka. "I'll marry you all the same, you know." "All right," said Myonka. "We shall see when the time comes." "So you are going?" said Lukashka sternly, and pressing her close, he kissed her on the cheek. "There, leave off. Don't bother." And Myonka, wrenching herself from his arms, moved away. "Ah, my girl, it will turn out badly," said Lukashka reproachfully, and stood still, shaking his head. "Thou wilt weep because of me. and turning away from her, he shouted to the other girls, "Now then, play away." What he had said seemed to have frightened and vexed Myanka. She stopped. "What will turn out badly?" "Why that." "That what?" "Why that you keep company with the soldier-lodger, and no longer care for me. I'll care just as long as I choose. You're not my father, nor my mother. What do you want? I'll care for whom I like." "Well, all right," said Lukashka. "But remember." He moved towards the shop. "Girls," he shouted. "Why have you stopped? Go on dancing. Nazarka, fetch some more shakir." "Well, will they come?" asked Olnin, addressing Beletsky. "They'll come directly," replied Beletsky. "Come along. We must prepare for the ball."